Tonight, suburban gunfire. The family of a notorious Gangland figure targeted in a late-night attack. Melbourne in for a wet and wild Christmas as the final shopping rush wraps up. Special live coverage. A new twist in Usman Khawaja's human rights campaign, banned from displaying the dove of peace. Heartless thieves steal Christmas tips and takings from a Carlton North pub. New pictures as the hunt continues for dozens of dirt bike hoons terrifying Melburnians, and a major step in Australia's mission to build its own nuclear-powered submarines.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Blake Johnson starts now.
Good evening. Shots have been fired into the family home of a notorious Gangland figure in Melbourne's north. 2 loud gunshots echoed through a Faulkner street, terrifying local residents before the gunmen set alight their getaway car.
Gangland gunmen who weren't in a hurry. Plenty of thinking time between shotgun blasts. The shooters unloaded at the property on Major Road in Faulkner just after 11 o'clock. The house is the family home of one-time underworld high flyer Mohammed Khawaja. His parents and a child were inside. There were no injuries despite one of the shots penetrating the front doors. Shocked neighbours responded to the first blast.
The gap of time suggested that someone was taking careful aim, and that was very concerning.
Mohammed Khawaja is in custody in Western Australia after being arrested in May. Police found $14 million worth of ice and $10,000 in cash during a raid. The 47-year-old has been charged with drug trafficking. Khawaja's extravagant lifestyle in Melbourne more than 10 years ago has been linked to drug money. Gunfire has followed Mohammed Khawaja during his time in the underworld. He's survived 2 shootings, including an ambush at Coburg in 2017, just days after he left the Comanchero outlaw motorcycle gang. The getaway car, a Suzuki Swift, was found torched in Broadmeadows.
So I went out the front door and all I could see was flames. And it was very, very scary because the flames were reaching up quite high.
A van was seen speeding away from the burning Suzuki. Mohammed Khawaja's Gangland connections are the focus of the investigation. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
We are in for a rainy Christmas. The wild weather begins tonight. Thousands spent today buying last-minute gifts. Others have hit the road to celebrate with loved ones. Melina Sarris has the final forecast in a moment. First, to Beth and Yeoman at Chadstone. Beth, shopping rush is almost over.
Just one more hour to go, Blake, and that is it here at Chadstone. Elsewhere, trading hours have already come to a close after a very busy day at the shops for thousands of Melburnians.
Early birds got the prawns this morning at Queen Victoria Market.
It's been absolutely hectic. Yeah, we've had people coming through about 3:30 this morning.
Shoppers came armed with long lists and big baskets, eager to get in and out before the mid-morning peak.
Today's nuts. We had people here at 4 o'clock lining up.
The last-minute fresh food rush, an unavoidable Christmas Eve tradition.
Definitely manic. I've left it all right to the end.
The queues didn't stop there. Hundreds of families lined up for over an hour to see Bluey at the Myer Christmas windows.
Why did you want to come and see them, Nelson?
Because we love Bluey.
Well, it's been over 68 years, hasn't it? So you've got to come back every year. It's fantastic.
High Point was packed until 2 this morning, with shoppers taking advantage of the extended opening hours.
We made like it's a traditional, so every year we come.
I didn't even know I was looking for it, but I found it.
Many at Southland sharing that same present panic.
Don't know yet, I'm looking.
Chadstone set the bar high, expecting 170,000 through its doors over the weekend, while in the city a much calmer sight before the Boxing Day storm.
We're expecting to see over 600,000 customers coming through our stores across the country.
This year, Victorians are expected to spend $926 million in the post-Christmas sales.
It's been a tough year for retailers. And they really are going 100% to clear the stock, to give bargains and to stretch that dollar a little bit further for the consumers.
Those who weren't shopping were enjoying the sunshine, exercising and barbecuing along the Yarra.
Now,
Have a bit of some fresh prawns on the barbie and lamb and chicken in the esky ready to go after this.
Others hot-footed it out of Melbourne, 106,000 leaving Tullamarine on Saturday and a further 94,000 today, before the less than perfect weather conditions arrive tomorrow with Santa.
Tonight is also the last chance for grocery shopping at the big retailers. All Woolworths stores will be closed tomorrow, as will Coles and Aldi. If you've forgotten any key ingredients, a small handful of IGA stores will come to your rescue, with 12 open across the state on Christmas Day. Blake?
Handy information, Beth. Thank you. So that is the shopping almost done. Now the weather for tomorrow. Melina, it's not a very festive forecast.
No, Blake, we are in for a wet and stormy Christmas Day, a far cry from our sunny top of 32 degrees last year. The severe weather has already started across the state. Thunderstorms are moving in from the northwest. There is a severe weather warning in place for people in parts of central, Mallee, Northern Country, North Central, Wimmera and the southwest. Severe thunderstorms are likely to produce heavy rainfall that may lead to flash flooding, large hailstones and damaging winds over the next several hours. Locations which may be affected include Horsham, Stawell, Bendigo, Maryborough and Castlemaine. Kyneton has already been hit by a hailstorm and heavy rain. These pictures just in show the afternoon deluge. Hail has blanketed backyards in white, coming close to a white Christmas. There's also been flash flooding, including a supermarket car park, catching people off guard as they picked up their last-minute Christmas supplies. Unfortunately, the wet and stormy weather will continue tomorrow. I'll have an hour-by-hour breakdown of how Christmas Day will play out later in the bulletin. Blake?
Can see it rolling in behind you, Mel. Thank you. There is a new twist in cricketer Usman Khawaja's human rights campaign ahead of the Boxing Day test. Andrew McCormack has the latest. Andrew, he's now been banned for wearing the Dove of Peace.
Blake, Usman Khawaja was notified this morning by the ICC that he does not have approval to display a dove symbol for the Boxing Day test. He trained at the MCG earlier today with teammates. On his right shoe, a sticker of a dove with an olive branch in its mouth. Also that sticker on the back of his bat. He did get approval from Cricket Australia, but was ultimately denied by the ICC. He was reprimanded for wearing a black armband in Perth. He wanted to display "All lives are equal" written on his shoes in a show of support for the people of Palestine, but was told that was deemed a political statement. A grey area for the governing body. Khawaja thought long and hard about just how he wanted to display his support for the people of Gaza through a symbol rather than words or a slogan. His Aussie teammate Marnus Labuschagne has for a number of years now had a sticker of an eagle on the back of all his bats. That's in reference to a Bible verse as part of his Christian faith. But the ICC deeming Usman Khawaja's symbol, which is known a dove with an olive branch in his mouth, the international symbol of peace, a no-go area. Blake?
Andrew McCormack outside the G. Thank you. A motorbike rider has died after hitting a guardrail in South Morang this afternoon. The male rider was travelling along Plenty Road around 2 o'clock when he lost control and crashed. Emergency services tried to revive the man, but he died at the scene. Major collision detectives are investigating the cause of the crash. Plenty Road has been labelled one of the deadliest in Victoria. Two thieves are on the run after stealing thousands of dollars of Christmas takings and tips hidden in a safe. The pair was captured casing the area before breaking into the pub in Melbourne's inner north. Oblivious their crime was captured on camera.
A week's worth of takings and tips stolen in just 5 minutes. The heartless pair broke into the Kent Hotel at 1:30 this morning, unaware their every move was caught on security cameras. Once inside, they ran through the dining room, past the bar and into the kitchen to where the safe was hidden. The masked thieves used tools to remove it before escaping.
The staff do the hard work so that this business can keep going, and it's really disappointing. Safe, unfortunately, was made up of a bunch of the takings throughout the week. That's the business's related expenses.
but for the pub's manager.
For me personally, it's the young staff's tips. Like, that's the disappointing factor, you know. These kids have really worked hard for us. Long hours to make what was a very successful Christmas for us.
Staff say although it's the first time the pub has been targeted, they're now looking at increasing security with better locks and a stronger alarm system.
It just means we now have to change our systems, like a bit more heavy duty chains.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Police are yet to arrest any suspects over a dangerous dirt bike invasion on Melbourne roads and freeways. 7 News can tonight show you fresh video of yesterday's reckless stunts. Paul Dowsley, it was a large group.
Maybe 50 of them, Blake. Incredibly, some of the dirt bikes carrying passengers. They swarmed from the northern suburbs, illegally taking over roads around town, weaving between other vehicles and performing dangerous stunts like wheelies, risking the safety of themselves and other road users. One clip shows the group whizzing past a police van. A member of the dirt bike group telling 7 News those officers didn't follow the riders. The group then went across the Balti Bridge and on the Tullamarine Freeway. We couldn't see any with number plates. They later gathered on the foreshore at St Kilda and kicked a side mirror off a police car before dispersing when more officers arrived. Police say they did detain 2 people at St Kilda and got their details. You can see one there in handcuffs. But so far there are no arrests. Riders have told us, Blake, they organise their meets through social media. They say this is the biggest they've had so far.
Paul Dowsley there in the newsroom. A suspected hoon driver has ploughed through the back fence of a retirement village in Melbourne's west. The driver crashed into several other vehicles before hurtling into the backyard just after 10 last night.
It was a horrendous bang that I knew as soon as I heard it was so loud. Every single night there'll be cars speeding along here. This is the 3rd time it's happened to our units.
We had some beautiful plants and stuff there that are gone. We were only just sitting here yesterday having a nice cup of coffee in the sun.
4 people were taken to hospital. The driver is in police custody. Australia has taken a significant step towards the construction of nuclear-powered submarines. A new deal has been signed in Adelaide to start building, but workforce challenges remain.
A massive step in a momentous year for Australia's defence capabilities. Contracts have been finalised this week to start shaping the shipyards in Adelaide. That'll soon be home to Australia's fleet of nuclear-powered submarines.
The great news is that construction will start next year.
It'll involve new staging and storage areas, building bridges and roads to support the future construction workforce. But that's the biggest concern.
The workforce is the number one challenge. I'm confident we'll overcome it.
We need action, not words, from this government. And I know the Americans are worried about the delays in the delivery of the submarines.
About 4,000 workers are needed to design and build the infrastructure. A further 5,000 Australians are needed to build the boats. Another 10,000 will be employed as part of the overall effort. And it's no easy task. Special skills are needed, and migrants might not be permitted to work on the top secret project.
We're training Australians to do these jobs right now.
We need that capability because, as the Prime Minister rightly points out, we live in the most precarious period since the Second World War.
The $300 billion project is expected to be complete by 2040. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
One of Victoria's most notorious youth gang members was detained 33 times in just 12 months, according to new police data. It means the 15-year-old boy was arrested every 11 days on average over the full year for crimes including aggravated burglary and car theft. The data shows an overall easing of youth gang numbers, but a large amount of repeat offending. 82 other Victorian youths were arrested more than 10 times in the past year. A pedestrian is fighting for life in hospital after being hit by a car in Melbourne's west. Emergency crews were called to the intersection of Adelaide Street and Albert Crescent in St Albans around 8 last night. Police say the driver stopped at the scene and is assisting with their inquiries. The man in his 70s was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The Czech Republic has paused for a national day of mourning to remember the 14 victims of a lone gunman. Churches, normally reserved for Christmas services, hosted sombre prayers for the dead.
Across the Czech Republic, a minute's silence was broken only by bells and the sound of rain on Prague's cobblestone streets. Saturday marked a day of national mourning for the 14 victims of the country's worst mass shooting in modern history. Among them, a first-year student, a promising athlete, a volunteer firefighter.
We're still experiencing enormous horror, and that's incomparable to what the victims must be experiencing, both what they were experiencing at the time of the attack and what their loved ones or those who were injured are experiencing today.
The city's cathedral, normally a place of Christmas hymns and hope, was today a gathering place for the broken-hearted. With this country still in mourning, among all the sorrow there are questions too about why the shooter had such a huge arsenal of weapons and what prompted him to go on this killing spree. It took David Kozak 21 minutes to carry out his evil ambitions. The pain he inflicted will be felt for a lifetime. In Prague, Ashley Melina, 7 News.
A founding member of the US country band the Dixie Chicks has been killed in a Texas car crash. Laura Lynch was 65. Her all-female group rose to fame in the 90s, but later dropped the word Dixie over civil rights concerns.
It's a long, thin line, and it sure is a hot and dusty day. And Colorado is more than 800 miles away.
The crash happened near El Paso. Lynch's car was hit head-on. She died on impact. Communities across southern Queensland are in the grip of a storm emergency tonight with the threat of more to come. Tens of thousands of customers are without power from trees crashing over transmission lines. Roads are also blocked. There have been torrential downpours in Brisbane and in the Lockyer Valley, which was pummeled by giant hail last night. There's been a bruising session in the nets for the Aussies. Laura Spurway, they're not holding back before the Boxing Day test.
They're certainly not, Blake. There were a few casualties at training this morning. We'll have those details ahead. Plus, Australian cricket's richest man on juggling his comeback to the Indian Premier League.
Red Bull's still top of the tree for me. I think my body will let me know about Test cricket before probably I want to.
The young forward hoping to steer North Melbourne to next year's finals. And another gold medal for one of our Olympic stars. We'll have all that and more coming up.
See you soon, Loz. Thank you. Victorians face a battle to secure free shingles vaccinations, despite the federal government claiming there is no supply shortage. Details next in 7 News. Also, drowning fears as rivers and lakes go unpatrolled. A local council's plan to build townhouses in a flood zone. And later, the innovative new program helping celebrate Christmas across the generations. Lifesaving Victoria says it doesn't have the funding to provide lifesavers for inland waterways. Overall, drownings in the state are up 33% on the 10-year average. And of the 59 drownings over a recent 12-month period, 1/3 of victims drowned in inland waterways.
There are consequences for Labor's debt. And what I'd like to see is that instead of the state government wasting billions on billions of dollars on major project cost overruns, that programs like this that don't cost very much do get the funding that they need.
The state government says it has invested $12 million into life-saving services, including jet skis, paid lifeguards and a public pool safety program. A regional council is being investigated for granting a permit allowing 16 townhouses to be built on an Echuca site which flooded just over a year ago. The development has been labelled inappropriate, with the local catchment authority saying the development will likely flood neighbouring properties. The state's planning minister has requested her department examine why the Campaspe Shire Council approved the $4.7 million development. Doctors are slamming the Albanese government over its shingles vaccine rollout, labelling it uncoordinated and disorganised. 5 million shingles vaccines were supposed to be available from November, but GPs say they've already run out.
Free shingles vaccines for over 65s are proving popular. 500,000 jabs have already been administered, and now this GP is fresh out of stock.
The main issue is supply. The promise is made and the vaccines aren't delivered.
His waiting lists are pages long. GPs across Australia are forced to turn people away.
That's not a decision that should be at the GP's feet. It should be at the government's feet. And I saw a patient yesterday who's got shingles. She's eligible for it, but we haven't got any.
In October, the Federal Health Minister promised 5 million eligible Australians a free shingles vaccine from November 1. It guarantees 10 years of protection from the virus, but only for those over the age of 65, First Nations or are immunocompromised. The federal government slowing down the rollout so the manufacturer can make more.
That isn't going to plan, and the Health Minister's been missing in action.
What I would encourage GPs to do is to use the order system they have in place.
Some state governments claim they were advised supplies would be limited until February next year due to population estimates, a claim the federal government deny.
Every single order made to the Commonwealth for delivery has been made, and almost 500,000 will be delivered over the course of January.
The states and the feds, both coloured Labor, need to sort this out. They need to stop fighting.
Jacqueline Stanley, 7 News.
Police are on the hunt for 5 men who stormed a suburban home, allegedly abducting a 29-year-old man. Emergency services were called to the property in Sydney's west just after midnight to report the group, armed with handguns, forced entry and took the man away. He returned to the house uninjured just after 3 a.m. Police are also investigating if 2 car fires nearby are linked. Bethlehem in the West Bank will not celebrate Christmas for the first time in modern memory in mourning and honour of Palestinians killed in Gaza. The celebration at the birthplace of Jesus typically draws thousands of visitors. Meantime, US President Joe Biden says he's had a long conversation with Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu, but says he did not ask for a ceasefire. Stormy conditions are expected for Tuesday's start of the 78th Sydney Hobart yacht race. Skippers and crews say they're up for the challenge, especially one legendary yachtswoman who has endured far worse.
She's the teenage sailor who became a household name back in 2010.
Check that out, got Cape Horn there.
But when you ask Jessica Watson how she feels heading into this year's Sydney Hobart,
it's a lot. I don't know if it's nerves to sort of be heading out to sea, but it's nerves in that we've all put so much into this.
Joining a crew of 6.
I almost didn't do this because the bathroom facilities are not okay.
They'll be racing on one of the smallest boats in the fleet, a Zuro.
She's also the same type of boat as the boat I sailed around the world, Ness 34, and that was featured in Netflix True Spirit.
A tiny yacht taking centre stage in a film about her solo journey around the world.
This is dangerous, okay?
Why don't you just give me a break?
While Watson has already proven her tenacity, the 30-year-old says this trip will be tough after losing her partner Cameron Dale to a catastrophic stroke.
Cam and I met competing as the youngest ever team to complete the Sydney Hobart yacht race. I suppose there's a lot more emotion in it all than maybe I'm admitting to myself to be heading out and doing this again.
Surrounded by friends on a voyage with a special cause to raise money for the Stroke Foundation.
I just feel like I got Cam telling me to do this.
It's just pure excitement and eagerness.
This year's fleet is gearing up for a mixed bag of weather. The big boats are expected to get off to a good start with light winds initially forecast, but later in the race they could face thunderstorms, a wild swell and southwesterly wind gusts.
You're salty, you're sleep deprived. It's not easy.
But when has Jessica Watson ever settled for easy?
We've all got a lot of motivation to be in for New Year's Eve.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
Victorian shoppers are being warned to think twice about the temptation of buy now, pay later schemes this summer. What the experts say is next in 7 News. Also, the alarming number of teens dropping out of Melbourne schools. A deadly shopping mall shooting in the middle of the holiday rush. And our nation's leaders share their Christmas messages as Australian families prepare to celebrate the big day. More Victorian students are dropping out of secondary school than at any point in the past decade. Retention figures released by the Bureau of Statistics this month show just over 14% of students who started in Year 7 had dropped out by Year 12. The state's southwest has the worst retention rate, 20% of students dropping out. Education experts say poor mental health following COVID lockdowns could be partly to blame. Experts warn Victorians about the risks of relying on buy now, pay later schemes to splash out on last-minute Christmas gifts or the Boxing Day sales. They say the temptation could end up costing you more in the long run.
Buying now and paying later might seem like the solution to get through the festive season.
I think if you have a lot of self-control, great. I don't, so I've gotten rid of it.
I think people sort of spend too much what they don't have and then, not able to pay it off.
The schemes allow customers to pay off their shopping over 8 weeks, but experts warn they can be a trap.
The reality for many families is that they will find themselves in circumstances where they don't have the means to make the payments when they fall due.
He says that can lead to late fees piling up, and you could end up paying way more than the original price.
People might have purchased a $40 t-shirt, 4 repayments of $10, they miss one repayment, that costs them a $10 or a $15 fine.
In a statement, Afterpay told 7 News its current model exposes customers to the lowest possible risk, banning them from using the service if they miss a repayment and capping late fees. But consumer advocacy group Choice has tips for those who do sign up. Never use your credit card set up with debit instead. Create payment reminders and set a spending limit and stick to it.
If you do need some advice or some support in how to pay for things, or if you need some help with paying of bills, we're there to help.
Andrea Nicholas, 7 News.
Our political leaders are sending special thanks to volunteers and emergency service workers tonight, giving up their holidays for the sake of others. In their annual Christmas messages, the Prime Minister and opposition leader also paid tribute to Australians doing it tough.
2023 was a difficult year. Millions of Australians struggled to make ends meet.
But despite the difficulties, Australians pressed on with characteristic resilience. The generosity and the efforts of our wonderful charity workers and volunteers epitomised the very best of our society.
And this Christmas, our political leaders are urging all Australians to give thanks to those helping others.
Our emergency personnel and Australian Defence Force members, whether here or overseas, our medical workers and our hospitality, and those who give up for others through charities.
As the year draws to an end, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese paid tribute to those impacted in the recent flooding in far north Queensland.
To them I say, you are in our thoughts. May better times be ahead.
Opposition leader Peter Dutton sent condolences to Australians who've lost loved ones this year, particularly those in tragedies that shocked the nation.
Such as the victims of the Gold Coast helicopter mid-air collision, the Hunter Valley wedding party bus crash, the Dugald River mine accident, the Taipan helicopter disaster, and the 2 police officers who were killed on duty.
For religious Australians, Christmas is about hope. But whether you're Christian or not, Christmas is a time to give thanks for the things we hold dear.
It's a chance to rest, to spend time with our family, catch up with friends, and may all Australians have a happy and joyous Christmas and a safe one. And please, this festive season, drive safely.
I wish all Australians a happy, relaxing and safe Christmas in the company of family and friends.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
A shooting at a shopping centre in Florida has left 1 man dead. Police were called to what they thought was an active shooter situation, but once they arrived, they found it was a targeted act of violence. The centre was evacuated and a woman rushed to hospital with gunshot wounds to the leg. The suspect fled. Police are hunting him down tonight. 303 Indian passengers are being held at an airport in France amid an investigation into human trafficking. The unmarked Airbus was flying from Dubai to Nicaragua when it landed to refuel on Thursday. Acting on a tip-off, French authorities grounded the jet, operated by a Romanian company. So far, they've identified 13 unaccompanied minors. Some are younger than 2. Australians are hitting the streets of Los Angeles to share a little bit of mateship this Christmas. It's much needed help with homelessness in the United States surging to record highs.
In the shadow of the richest economy in America sits Skid Row, a Los Angeles neighbourhood synonymous with homelessness and poverty.
Here, life isn't easy, but a small group of expats want to make it just a little bit brighter.
A lot of the time we'll turn up and someone will yell out, "The Aussies are here!" and everyone comes running down.
Handing out hygiene kits, Aussie favourites.
Delicious and warm, it's good.
And this December, Christmas gifts.
They gave us kindness, joy, love, all that comes with it.
In 25 years that I'm here, it only gets worse. I want them to feel that warmth and happiness that a mate is meant to bring somebody else, and that's what I come here to do.
The number of homeless people across America has now reached its highest level. More than 650,000 people don't have a home. California is the epicentre of the crisis. There are more people here sleeping rough than anywhere else in the country. Many are crammed into these 54 city blocks.
The situation is getting worse. I'm still waiting for housing to swoop me up, and I haven't got housing yet. It's been 4 years I've been waiting.
The rise is attributed to a collision of factors: a lack of affordable housing, the decline in pandemic assistance payments, and the ongoing fentanyl crisis.
It's a lot of drugs being sold down here. There's a lot of people dying from doing drugs down here. And it's just horrid.
As the emergency reaches record highs, these Australians are looking to reach even more people across America.
We just want to give them one moment in time that they can forget that they live like this.
In Los Angeles, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
Tourist operators in flood-ravaged far north Queensland are pleading with Victorians to holiday in the region. Details on the deals and discounts next. Also, could a diet pill that works on pigs soon help humans? The annual crab migration that's just a coincidence. And celebrating Christmas across the generations in an Australian first. It is hoped a weight loss technique that has proven successful on pigs could work on humans. Scientists have found a vibrating pill that triggers nerve endings in the stomach, telling the brain it's time to stop eating. The research team from Harvard claim human trials are 2 to 3 years away. Accommodation discounts, meal deals and cheap airfares are on offer to lure Victorian tourists back to far north Queensland after Cyclone Jasper. More than 80% of businesses are back to normal and urging holidaymakers not to cancel their trips.
Christmas Eve in Cairns, 12 days after Cyclone Jasper crossed, flooding parts of the far north in its wake. The Esplanade Lagoon is back open, the Ferris wheel reconstructed and turning, and the barbecues are firing.
Everything's running completely 100% normal, and it's like there's never been a flood.
Because the weather's great, it's not underwater, and everything's operating.
But tourism numbers are down and there's been $200 million worth of cancellations.
For the north, we were seeing cancellations as far south as Bundaberg and Mackay.
Prompting a new tourism campaign to prove the far north is back and open for business. Already there's deals on accommodation, food and experiences, and cheap airfares are on the way.
It'll kick off from the first week of January, more to come, so keep your eyes out for great discounts. There are deals available right now on Queensland.com.
This is what's open. Everything from Cairns South is back running as normal. For Port Douglas, you will need to take the scenic route on a ferry from Cairns or driving inland via Mareeba.
By next week, we will absolutely be back up and running and having a normal business as far as Port Douglas goes.
Please don't cancel.
On a community where 1 in 5 jobs depend on it. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
The annual crab migration on Christmas Island is happening just in time for Christmas. Tens of millions of red crabs are leaving their forest homes and marching towards the coast to mate. Authorities on the island have set up roadside barriers to safely direct the migrating crabs. Christmas has come early for a group of elderly Victorians and their tiny friends who are taking part in an innovative new program. On the Mornington Peninsula, dozens of aged care residents and children have forged a special bond since joining forces in an Australian first.
It's a celebration like no other. Friends aged between 1 and 100 exchanging gifts and recognising a life-changing year.
Incredibly special moment and special time for our little community to get together for our first Christmas. So just, to celebrate it together, it's just incredibly magical.
The collaboration is the brainchild of sisters Anna and Fiona Glumac, who established an intergenerational learning centre in the same building as an aged care facility, giving elderly residents a window into the world of toddlers, helping young children see past wheelchairs and disabilities.
Just to see people for who they are as people, and that the exterior means nothing, and then definitely empathy and compassion have been big lessons that have been learnt here.
Look what's in here.
What's it? What is it?
Game.
After a year of scheduled activities together, the children are learning the joy of gifting to their so-called grand friends.
Who's your favourite grand friend?
Leslie.
Who's it?
I'm making this for Leslie.
Aussie toy company Wahoo donating 150 games and toys for everyone to receive.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. I always like working with children, and grandchildren we've got.
Programs like these have been shown to help combat isolation and loneliness in the elderly and reduce the risk of dementia. Lorraine is blind. Little Ella's visits bringing special joy.
The delight that you see every day, it's just, for us as facilitators, stepping back and just watching the magic just unfold, the friendships building, it's just so heartwarming.
Let's all say goodbye now and see you next time.
Jackie Quest, 7 News.
Love that idea. Sports up next. Laura Spurway, a record payday hasn't swayed Mitchell Starc's focus.
It hasn't, Blake. The Aussie Quick has spoken about his future with the red ball. Those details next. Plus, a bruising session in a dress rehearsal for the Boxing Day test. Cricket Australia not backing down in an umpire intimidation furore. Cam Zurhaar sets his sights on finals with North Melbourne ahead of a special milestone. And the Aussie star who can't be beaten on the world stage. Welcome back. Mitchell Starc says he's firmly focused on his Test cricket form despite signing a multi-million-dollar T20 contract. The Aussies got their final look at the MCG pitch today ahead of a soggy lead-in to the Boxing Day Test.
He's Aussie cricket's $4 million man, but Mitchell Starc's record IPL payday hasn't changed his priorities.
Red Bull's still top of the tree for me. Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise. The money's always nice, and certainly is this year, but I've always prioritised international cricket, and I think that's helped my game.
Aussie coach Andrew McDonald taking one last look at the MCG pitch, likely to spend all of tomorrow under the covers as Melbourne prepares for a wet Christmas day.
Probably a fraction less grass than maybe last year, which probably means again an even much more even contest.
Recently bitten by the golfing bug, Steve Smith was the first into the MCG nets and the last one out, hitting for over 3 hours on Christmas Eve. 1 or 2 painful moments in a competitive session between bat and ball. The pressure released for David Warner after his Perth ton. Warner, ever the antagonist ahead of his final Boxing Day test. 70,000 expected for day one. That figure would be the biggest ever crowd against Pakistan on Boxing Day. Rain or not, the tourists are up against it to avoid a series defeat in Melbourne.
I think everyone's slightly surprised at the lower pace of the Pakistan bowlers when you're probably generally used to some guys hitting the 150s.
This young Victorian may well be our next homegrown Boxing Day hero. 18-year-old Harry Dixon will be a key part of Australia's Under-19 World Cup in South Africa next month. This week, he's running the drinks in the Aussie Test Inner Sanctum.
I think just trusting the process and going out into the middle, I think, is something I've learned off a couple of the big sort of names.
You dare to dream, obviously, of hopefully one day walking out in front of a home crowd on a Boxing Day. That'd be pretty special.
Yeah, I think that'll be the ultimate dream, but I think that's a couple more years away for me, I think.
And Tom Curran's Big Bash appeal has been thrown out by Cricket Australia. His 4-match ban for intimidating an umpire stands. He says he deeply regrets the incident. He has apologised. He says he's genuinely sorry. His intention was to veer right when he was running towards the umpire during the warm-up. One he describes is a warm-up that he goes through every game as intense and deeply methodical, but he'll miss the match on Boxing Day against the Stars for the Sixers and won't return. He'll be suspended until the new year. Laura?
Thanks for the update, Macca. Still with the Big Bash, Renegades skipper Aaron Finch is in doubt for the next 2 matches after suffering back soreness in last night's loss to the Hurricanes. An incredible knock by Matthew Wade led his side to a 6-wicket win over the Gades. He scored 82 off 50 balls. Hobart chasing down the target of 183 with 6 balls remaining.
Oh, that's as big as anything we've seen all night. High into the skies and out of the ground. Just.
It leaves the Renegades winless for the season. The Aussie women have lost their first test in almost a decade after India tore through their batting order on the final day in Mumbai. The tourists lost 5 for 28 to be all out for 261 just before lunch.
Classical dismissal this. And that's the end of the Australian innings.
India easily managed the 75 runs they needed to win and now face the Aussies in a one-dayer next week. After a disappointing year, Cam Zurhaar is hungrier than ever to steer North Melbourne to the finals in 2024. With the worst of an ankle injury behind him, the 25-year-old is now gearing up for a special milestone.
He's a key cog in North Melbourne's forward line, but Cam Zurhaar hasn't had the easiest run over the past few years, sidelined with an ankle injury in round 18.
We tried to go no surgery at the start and then obviously ended up having to have surgery because it just wasn't healing the way we wanted it to.
The 25-year-old is now back running and looking ahead to 2024.
Ankles are feeling fully fit now, which is nice, so back into full training with all the boys. So after Chrissy, we'll obviously ramp it up a fair bit.
His first game back next year will be his 100th.
It's just 100 games, so hopefully another 100 more to come.
Powerful 40, storms past Maynard, a little bit of gold from the zoo, got it.
While it's a significant milestone, he's setting his sights on September.
I want to play the whole year. I haven't really done that in the last 2 years, so just want to be consistent for the whole year. And me personally, I'm getting into my 8th year, so I just want to play finals. That's all I want to do. And we've got so much talent here. We just need to bring it all together and should work for us.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
That's fantastic.
Melbourne United has prevailed in an open-air thriller against the Perth Wildcats at John Cain Arena after the game was sent into overtime in the final few seconds. It was Ian Clark who proved the match winner for the home side, scoring 13 points in the extra period.
That is huge. Ian Clark drains it from outside.
The 109-103 victory strengthens United's hold on the top of the league table. And Australia's Olympic champion Jakara Anthony has won the Dual Moguls World Cup in Georgia, her 7th medal with 6 gold from 7 starts this season.
It was awesome to be a part of, and it was heaps of fun out there skiing some runs.
At only 25, Anthony now has 14 World Cup golds, just 4 short of Dale Begg-Smith's Australian record. The trophy cabinet is overflowing.
Impressive. And Fev enjoying the basketball there
Having a
on
good
the sidelines. All right, Melina Sarris is tracking Melbourne's wild Christmas weather. Mel, we hoped it wouldn't be, but it's looking wet.
Blake, it is. I'll have your hour-by-hour Christmas Day forecast next on 7 News.
This has always been home. It's always been a special place. Always something happening. Always changing. Understanding our city's stories is important. Bringing the news home every night is a privilege.
7 News with Peter Mitchell at 6.
Hello again. We started Christmas Eve with sunshine, but the weather has certainly turned. Showers and storms are now moving across the state. We made it to a top of 24 degrees, but outside now it is sitting on 19. A severe weather warning is in place for large hailstones, heavy rainfall and damaging winds across these yellow parts of the state over the next few hours. Causing that, a low over northern Victoria, which will deepen early tomorrow and linger throughout the day. So that will deliver some miserable conditions for Christmas Day. Cloudy with widespread showers and thunderstorms likely across most of the state. Heavy rainfalls, damaging winds and large hail is possible with those storms, especially in the northeast. Temperatures will be cool but a little milder in the east of the state. Up to 40 millimetres of rain is forecast over the suburbs. There's also the chance of thunderstorms, possibly severe. Temperatures will mostly be around the low 20s, 23 at Scoresby and Point Cook, and we'll have southerly winds. Rain and a possible storm in the city, 16 overnight for Santa's arrival before a top of 23 degrees. And this is how the day will play out. The rain should be pretty consistent with the bulk arriving in the middle of the day while we're all sitting down for lunch. The temperature will hit the 20s by midday and it stays there until the evening, and the rain will ease at night. Boxing Day will be wet as well, with a possible storm, showers on Wednesday, a possible shower on Thursday, cloudy but dry on Friday and Saturday. And finally, some sunshine, some good news next Sunday for New Year's Eve, 24 degrees, but rain and storms tomorrow for Christmas Day, a top of 23 degrees, Blake.
Merry Christmas. All right, now I hope your kid and your children are watching, Laura, because we have some breaking news coming in from the North Pole. Santa and his reindeer are ready for their Christmas Eve run around the globe to deliver presents to all the kids out there. He'll head up the east coast of Australia after midnight tonight, dodging all those storms we've seen, and then make his way through the interior over Western Australia. So best to get to bed nice and early so Santa can get to work tonight. And that is 7 News for now. Thanks for making us a part of your Christmas Eve. We are here tomorrow to bring you Melbourne's news at 6 from the Melbourne News team. Have a Merry Christmas and good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.